Okay. So can we begin? You live in Kenya.
Yes, I live in Kenya.
Okay. Okay. Where do you live?
In Nairobi. Sorry?
Where do you live exactly in Kenya?
I live in Nairobi.
Okay.
The capital.
Right. Yeah. How many people live there?
Like 3 million.
Okay. Right. Yeah. It's not like one of these super huge, horrible cities.
It is the super huge in Kenya.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
It's the most populous place in Kenya.
Yeah. Okay. So could you tell me a little bit about Dyslexia Kenya, please, about the organization in Kenya?
Okay. Dyslexia Organisation Kenya is the premier organization that creates awareness about dyslexia in Kenya. It was started in the year 2010 by myself and other people. The main reason is because we discovered there wasn't awareness about dyslexia in the country, yet it was there. Teachers didn't know about it, and many children were suffering.
Yeah.
So what we do, we create awareness. We collaborate with other organizations, international organizations, to get more information about dyslexia and be able to now create awareness to the parents, to using now the researches and the training techniques that have been used or are being used internationally. We train teachers. We have workshops. We have conferences. One just bounced because of COVID.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, we had planned one for July, but now it is not going to take place. We are trying to collaborate other African countries so that we can now have a big movement of these, and so that we can be able to lobby the governments. The education system in Kenya is not very responsive or does not really embrace children with learning difficulties, especially dyslexia, because teachers' training is not does not include learning difficulties.
Right.
So basically, is like children who have dyslexia are not recognized, and so no help is given to them.
Okay. And when you do train the teachers, what kind of understanding or attitude do they have when they come to the training? Do they have any understanding of dyslexia?
No. Okay, majority don't have, but because now of internet, majority are able to get access to the internet. So there are some who come with basic information like what dyslexia is, but they do not know how to diagnose. They don't know how to support. They just have basic information. And so what we do is now give them in-depth information, how to screen, not really to diagnose, because again, an assessment it's an in-depth thing.
Yeah. So
we train them to have basic now, a little more in depth than what they get in the internet. Again, majority of teachers do not have the internet capacity to learn. You know, the internet that they have, they depend on mobile phones internet, which is not enough to help support a learning, a training. So they just like Google. Even parents come forward with that basic information. Like, yeah, I've just Googled and realized probably my child has dyslexia. What is this? How do we have schools? Now they come looking for more information. Yes.
I was going to ask, because if you're beginning from such a low level of awareness in general, how aware are parents of dyslexia? So I'm guessing that you don't get many parents who say my child might be dyslexic if there's a low level of awareness to begin with.
Majority of those who come are the ones who have had access to internet. like for example, a parent would just Google like, my child is not able to read. Why is my child not able to read?
Yeah.
And so they will get that word dyslexia. And then when they Google the word dyslexia in Kenya, that's how they find us, because we are in the internet, we are in the website. We have a website. So that's what reads them. The same case with some teachers. They will say, why is a child not able to read? Or why is a child having difficulties in reading? And then they get that information. There are times that we are able to go to the media. We write, we get local radio stations, we get TV stations, we get to talk, to have articles written on the magazines or in the newspapers. And again, that's a way that we are able to reach those who may not be able to get to the internet or to access internet, but once they hear on radio, because most of the time we go to the local stations that we use the local dialects, or the local tribes language. So that's how we are able to reach. So with the little information that we describe, then a parent now will get interest to learn, so this is why my son has problem with reading, and then they reach out to us.
You say you get access to local radio. You yourself are based in the capital. Do you have offices in different cities and different towns in Kenya, or how do you get to local radio outside the capital?
Currently, we do not have an office outside Nairobi. However, our local radio stations that are based in Nairobi, they reach to the end. They are able to. We do not have local based radio stations. We have there are local radio stations that speak the local language, but they are able to reach every part of the country. The same with the televisions. Yes.
Who funds you? Where do you get your money?
We do not currently have, like, would say, getting somebody to fund us. What we do, when we do the workshops, we ask the parents to pay for the facility. For example, if we are hiring a hotel, we have to pay for workshop. We do not charge for the workshop per se, but we charge to meet the cost of that facility. We do not, our teachers or the people who, like, for example, when I do go to talk for that workshop, I don't charge. However, we have a school. After we created the awareness and parents came forward, I say the organization started in the year 2012. In 2010. In 2012, 2 years after we created awareness, many parents came forward asking whether there is a school that their children can fit in. And so we got the opportunity to start a school. So we have a school for children with dyslexia and other learning difficulties. So this school is not, it is a social enterprise. It's not really non-profit making, but it's social in a way that parents pay school fees to maintain the children in that school. So from there, we get some funding from the organization, because the organization is actually based in that school. Like we do not need to pay 2 rents, so we pay 1 rent where we have the school. The desk and computers and other resources that we use are for the school. So we would say the school funds the organization. Yes.
It sounds like you're saying that you do a lot of work personally and you have to fund yourself as a.
Yes. On top of that, when we need to pay for travel, for example, like if we have to attend a conference, I have to fund myself. We do not have funding from the organization, because basically the organization is not making money.
Can I ask, also in Kenya, I may be showing my ignorance, so I apologize. But in Kenya, how many languages are spoken in Kenya?
We have the national language, and we have the business language. We have the national language, which is Kiswahili.
Okay.
Swahili, and then English language is basically spoken by everybody in all schools. On top of we have now other 42 languages, or more.
Yeah.
But what you find is like everybody is able to understand these two languages: national language, Swahili, and English. So when we are talking to let's say in the radios, we probably go to the Swahili languages, the radio station that use Swahili or English, or now my local language, the one language, and again it is the biggest. Although sometimes we also have trained people or special education teachers that go to their own local languages. That's how we are able to reach even the person in the village.
One of the issues with dyslexia is that one major aspect of dyslexia is that there's a phonological decoding issue. So when you read words, translating those words into sound. Now, in English, that phonological decoding is very difficult. Is it difficult in Swahili, or how does that work? Do you notice dyslexia in English more than you notice it in Swahili or in the other languages?
Yes. Basically, Swahili words are written or spelled the way they are written.
Okay. Yeah.
A lot of times.
Yeah.
Unlike in English, where you find one word is spelled totally different from how it is spelled. So it is difficult to have English. You find somebody having difficulty in English than in Swahili when it comes to spelling and reading.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And is English, because he said it's more of a business language, so Swahili is the national language and English is the business language. Do you find that those who speak English well tend to be more middle class, or does it not work like
that? English, although I've said it's business language, it's taught very early in schools.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, it is taught. In fact, it is Swahili and English are taught at the same time. Immediately at the entry point, the preschool, we start teaching English. Sometimes, and we actually have three languages. We have the English language, we have the Swahili language, and we have the local language in the local community.
Yeah.
But in Nairobi, and the capital cities and the main towns, we only have two languages, the English and Swahili.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. You also mentioned earlier on, I don't want to keep you too long, so thank you very much for this.
It's okay, no worries. I'm here for you.
Thank you.
I'm ready to answer the questions.
Well, your answers are really interesting. And one of the things you said is that you're trying to connect with other African countries. How hard is that?
With the conference that we had planned for July, we realized that there's so many other countries that are interested.
Yeah. All right. Okay.
We have Ghana, we have Nigeria, we have Zambia, Zimbabwe. Many countries are coming out, and looks like we are Dyslexia Organization Kenya is kind of ahead of the other organizations. Maybe other than for South Africa, but other African countries, like, we are ahead. So what we had planned was to bring on board these other organizations or these other people during the conference, so that we can sit and find whether we could find one movement for like a dyslexia organization in Africa that collaborates. Like, we have the British Dyslexia Association. Yes.
Yeah, that must be incredibly frustrating that coronavirus stopped the conference.
Yes, it was. We are now trying to plan to see through webinars.
Yeah,
We're having small, like at around 6 today,
yeah,
we'll be having a training
yeah.
um, and we find those other countries are joining in.
Yeah.
So basically, we'll have to have some time and sit together, which obviously was frustrated by the corona. We can't have it now, but we'll have to have a meeting as African countries, sit together and see how we are going to move forward.
My final question, I suppose, is the Dyslexia Association in Kenya. Is there a single definition you have for dyslexia? And could you put that into maybe one or two sentences? How would your organization define dyslexia, please?
Dyslexia Organization has not come up with our own definition yet. We actually are relying on or using the International Dyslexia Association definition.
Yeah.
This mainly is because even as we speak, the education or scholars in Kenya have not agreed to call it by its name, dyslexia. They are still in the reading difficulties, learning difficulties. Is through our organization, we have actually pushed. Like I would tell you, I did my master's in child development like 2 years ago, and I wanted to research on difficulties, why children with dyslexia or psychological issues that affect children with dyslexia.
Yeah.
And my lecturer actually refused me to use the word dyslexia. She said that I could do psychological issues affecting children with reading difficulties. You see, she didn't she didn't allow me to use the word dyslexia. Rather, she was comfortable with reading difficulties. Yes.
Okay.
So dyslexia has not been embraced. We are pushing so that we can have the word dyslexia be used or enter in the Kenyan books as a learning difficulty by that definition.
And she didn't want you to use the word dyslexia. Why? Is it because there's still no agreement that dyslexia exists, or is it that no one has a set definition for dyslexia? Why would she not want you to use that word?
I don't think it is not because the definition hasn't been found. It's because still being in kind of denial that dyslexia is not is a label.
Yeah.
So she was comfortable that I use, and when you actually Google or even when you look at the dictionaries, the way reading difficulties and dyslexia is same.
Right.
Dyslexia is the definition for dyslexia in the dictionary is reading difficulties.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know why she felt like it wasn't good to use that term, but she really, as you know, you have two lecturers. There's the supervisor and the assistant. The assistant lecturer was okay with me using that term, but the supervisor totally refused. So we ended up agreeing, let me just use the word reading difficulties. We are still not there completely. We are still struggling to have the word dyslexia being accepted. And not only word dyslexia, but also having learning difficulties accepted as a problem with the children in school. The difficulties or the disabilities recognized by the Ministry of Education or the education system are the visible one.
Right, yeah.
The blindness, the physical, the hearing, the speech, those ones. But to tell we are still having difficulties to telling the Ministry of Education that there are children in school that have hidden learning difficulties, those that you can't see, and they are as much affected as people who are visually impaired or hearing impaired. They are in the class, they cannot be seen, you cannot see them, but they are not learning. Not because they don't want to, but because they have something that is preventing them to learn.
Yeah.
And they need accommodations and assistance like any other person with any disability. Yes.